Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And we're really, really excited for our presentation today that is called Multilingual Parent Authors as Community and Curricula Change Agents. And I think all of our presenters are here. So today we will be hearing from Dr. Laura Liu, Nikole Merriman, Fabiana Costa, Nancy Boatner, and Karen Garrity. I hope I pronounce your names right, but you can tell me uh, during your presentation. And yeah, we're really excited for your presentation, and I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so you can share yours, and that way we can just start with the presentation and yeah, thank you.
All right, can everyone see my screen okay? Okay. All right, and everyone can hear me? Okay. All right, well, we are so honored and excited to be invited to be part of this. I did not know about Multilingual Minds until Dr. Beth Samuelson invited us, and this is awesome. So I'm excited to hear about your work and how we can connect and be a part of a shared movement. So this presentation is Multilingual Parent Authors as Community and Curricula Change Agents, and you already introduced us. So this project began probably around, well, okay, it probably began around 2012 when I wrote my first children's book while I was a parent overseas for 3 years in China, waiting on my job while my spouse and my children were at school and work, and experiencing what I did not know at the time was a very similar situation as many parents experience when they bring the children to the US, to our schools, or really anywhere around the world when we migrate, right? When I came to Indiana University Columbus as the English as a New Language program coordinator, one of the first goals I had was to support parents because we know it's really important to support parents as part of supporting learners. So we can do a lot for our learners at school, but I found when I was overseas, I always wished there was more that was done to support me as a parent to kind of keep up with my kids and be able to advocate for them and know how to advocate for them. And conversely, found them often advocating for me and wanted to get support. So I wanted to provide support for parents. So this project had three goals: to support parent authors in developing bilingual funds of knowledge stories, to share cultural and linguistic knowledge, to integrate multilingual parent funds of knowledge stories into pre-K through 12 curricula instruction in informal learning settings, and that has expanded to university settings, to facilitate classroom learning from multilingual parents and families as an essential part of our community. And these are some of the front covers of the 15 books that are part of this anthology of 15 bilingual children's books, sharing cultural linguistic funds of knowledge. You can find it on Amazon. We went through Amazon. Karen Garrity is here. We co-edited it. And our family story is Turtle's Treasure in the middle there. And we went through Amazon. I might go through a local publisher if I were to do it again because there were so many questions that came up regarding copyright of paper crafts, and it would have been nice to have like someone local to walk into a building. So if that's a topic, I'd be glad to talk with people afterwards about publishing. So the theoretical framework, I'm just briefly going to go over the framework and the methods and focus on the stories. So Luis Moll inspired a lot of this work. That is the foundation to the framework of the course I teach, where parents are invited to come in and talk with our E&L teacher candidates. So a very simple definition that has been expanded to international settings. Luis Moll in 1992 with his colleagues defined funds of knowledge as strategic knowledge and related activities essential in households' functioning, development, and well-being, including social, economic, and productive activities of people in a local region. Luis Moll has since passed away, but has left a legacy. It began at the University of Arizona, where he worked supporting Latin American families there in Arizona. and has expanded globally around the world. Feliz Ibanez actually was the colleague with him that coined the phrase funds of knowledge first. So that's something that we begin to explore in our course as well. So this work began with initiating relationships with families to learn from them, to document family experiences and knowledge, and defining these as resources and assets, and then preparing teachers to engage these funds of knowledge as resources for teaching and learning. And that's what we are doing in our IU Columbus E&L teacher preparation course, and preparing teachers to be creative and thinking about how they might do the same in their own classrooms. So I'm not going to go into depth on the research other than to note that this involves community engaged research. And this kind of research is committed to local, translocal, and contextual analysis, social and institutional transformation, and a new approach to knowledge seeking. It emphasizes the political and pragmatic impact of research and seeks to strengthen the agency of participants in their communities. So we've shared these stories at the Bartholomew County Public Library Storytime for Dias de los Muertos, the Story Walk, Lunar New Year, second grade classrooms in the Legato School, literacy festivals, the Community Engaged Alliance Research Symposium, and every semester in our teacher preparation course. And we actually, in that course, do an international virtual learning exchange with Beijing Normal University. So our parent authors actually are getting to share their stories with students in overseas as well. So we're going to turn to hear from our parent authors now. Part of the research done around this involves looking at the parent author and teacher candidate dialogues. And we ask in those conversations when the parent authors come to the class, first of all, we are setting them up as the knowledge resource, the knowledge producers that our teacher candidates are learning from. So we're establishing that dynamic that hopefully our teacher candidates will carry with them into schools. What can we learn from our students' parents? What can we learn from multilingual parents? So the candidates talk with the parents about what inspired you to write your story. What do you hope readers will learn from your story? How would you like to see your book shared in a formal or informal learning environment? And they take that information as they go into designing their lesson plans around the parent stories. And some themes that came out from the stories and those conversations and interviews with parents as well highlighted a major theme in the middle, fostering new connections while honoring family heritage, and three sub-themes around that. At the top, maintaining heritage connections while balancing new and home cultures. On the right, navigating difference in teaching and learning about culture, so being the source of teaching and learning about culture as encountering difference. And then on the left, encouraging inclusion and correcting misconceptions. Sometimes this was a role welcomed, sometimes it was a role that was difficult, but certainly correcting misconceptions was a role that parent authors have found themselves in. And so we're going to hear first from Nancy Boatner. And Nancy Yuko Boatner. And Nancy, I will do the slides as you share.
Sorry. Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Beth, for inviting me to be part of this session, and I really appreciate it. I'm not going to read word for word from my story, but basically, my thing was when I was growing up, there wasn't very many multiracial children. And my mom's Japanese and my dad's African American. And so when I came across Laura, we're neighbors and we were walking and she was telling me about this project and she was telling me that you have a story to tell. And it's so funny because I never really told the story too much of my background to my children, just little snippets. And then as I started writing this story, a lot of things came out and I remembered all the fond memories and that how I've learned so much from both sides of my family, my mom's side and my dad's side. So this story, I really wanted to embrace both my heritage and tell my story to my children and my grandchildren. And navigating through the differences through teaching and learning, my fondest memory was playing with my cousins in Japan and in New York. I never felt like I was an outcast with them. They just included me with everything. There was no differences in color or this and that. So I was really grateful to have such experience with two different cultures and in one house. And now, as I'm trying to do this, is with my grandchildren and with my sons to have them show them the things that I did when I was show them the things that I was taught and did when I was young. Some of the food that I prepare for my children. Some of the origami I share with my children. So and when my grandchildren get a little older, try to teach them. So I just felt I didn't feel at the time growing up that how valuable it was that and how fortunate it was to be in a home with two different, people from Japan and people from America. So I just was really, now I know that I'm very fortunate to grow up like that. So sorry if I sound a little nervous. But and for me, encouraging inclusion and correcting misconceptions, um, as I started growing older and seeing, high school can be rough, and there was a lot of there just wasn't pe doesn't kids look like me that looked like me in high school, and there was a lot of name calling, a lot of things that was very mean being told. And I would tell my parents about it. And my parents would say, you're the best of both of us. You're special. Be proud of who you are. You have knowledge of the Japanese culture. You have knowledge of your dad's side. So, just embrace it and know that you're the best part of both of us. So a perfect blend of both of us. And that's it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Nancy. And you don't sound nervous. Thank you so much for sharing. And so now we'll have Fabiana, and I'm just noting that we do have time at the end, a good portion of time for discussion at the end. And I do have the stories ready to share if people would like to hear the stories. So with that said, Fabiana.
Hi, good morning, everybody. The snow day here in Columbus, Indiana. I'm Fabiana. I'm from Brazil. I am 52 years old, living here in Columbus for the last 8 years. When I was invited to participate in this project, I was so happy because I didn't know that I will write about my story a book, but when I have the opportunity, when I always have the opportunity to talk about my life, to talk about my experience, to talk about my first year here and how hard for me was to be here in a new culture, in a new home. I really like to share and encourage a lot of mothers. My story I dedicated for mothers, immigrant mothers that came here trying to find American dream. So American Dream at the beginning for me, it is just something that I read in books or I watch in movies. And then 8 years ago, my husband works in a company, engineer company, and he was invited to move to São Paulo, Brazil. Uh, São Paulo, Brazil is like is a city, a big city in Brazil, like New York. Do you know, like a lot of people, a lot of traffic, a lot of noise, so many restaurants, so many shopping malls, a lot of things. And then she tell me that he was invited to move to Columbus, Indiana, in the Middle West, small city, no shopping malls, no good restaurants. So imagine for me at this time. So try to organize everything in my mind, and so we move it. We move it, and was so hard for me at the first year because I need to balance it, my new life. At this time, 8 years ago, I didn't speak English. My English was so like few words, like good morning, excuse me, hi. And then I need to try to learn a new language, and then I need to understand how to live in a new culture, in a new city. And most important for me, to realize that here I can see the four seasons, because that is my name is dedicated, because Brazil is a country that will have tropical weather during all year. So we have the same weather during all year. We don't have snow. We can't see leaves falling down. We have flowers all year. We have sun all year. We have everything like all year. So here I have the opportunity to see the difference between the four seasons. And I compare my life, my first year here, I compare my stages with the four seasons. So at the beginning, my first concern was about schools. I had two daughters at this time, 7 and 9 years old, and my priority was talk to them about school. So I encourage my kids to go to school, to learn another language, try to be happy, try to make friends. And this is so great.
As an obstacle to overcome. Certainly in the global world we live in today, our increasing connectivity to other parts around the world, the multilingual parent books enable children to develop a global perspective and an awareness of societies and that may differ from their own, and a sense of curiosity, and it helps them to certainly celebrate it. And then the last point, preserving traditions, certainly for the children and families who have varying cultural backgrounds and so on. It helps them to ensure they are passed on and their heritage is shared as well. So I guess in summary, I would say we certainly see the promotion and appreciation for language and diversity and cultural backgrounds. We help develop the family bonding. We try to promote understanding with all the people in our community. We see the global perspective and connectivity, and also the appreciation of children for their own cultures and their sense of belonging.
Thank you so much, Karen. So some discussion questions we might put out there for the group, but we're open to any discussion questions. How can multilingual stories be shared in classrooms in the community to support multilingual learners and families? So some ideas, part of the mission of Multilingual Minds. How might multilingual parent voices be invited and heard in more creative ways by classroom, schools, and communities? This is a big question because in our teacher preparation course, we invite the parents every semester to come and present. It's a handful of parents, and I'm one of the parents. And then they present twice. They present once to dialogue with our students, a second time to present to Beijing Normal University candidates. And by then, that's, it can be a lot of presenting. So we don't have our candidates go into the schools every semester because that would be a lot, right? So what we do have our candidates think about is how can you build on this experience? What are ways, once you enter your own classroom, look around you, look, who are the children, the families, the parents in your classroom? Maybe you don't have time to engage a group of parents in developing bilingual children's books, but what can you do creatively to learn from parents and bring parent voice into the classroom so the classroom is learning from parents, from multilingual parents? And then what other implications might this hold for teacher education practice, research, and policy? So I'll stop there. Do you want me to leave these slides up or just in the presentation there, Beth? What do you suggest?
I think you could leave them up for a little bit. We've
Okay.
prepared some questions as well. And we can take it down in a few minutes and then we can see each other's faces. But
Okay.
if you want to go ahead and talk, like the presenters talk a little bit about what they would say in response to these questions, that would be great.
Okay, so let's see. I guess, does anyone maybe we could ask the parents first. Nancy, Fabiana, do you have any additional thoughts? And one thing that's neat about Nancy and Fabiana, you both have positions in educational settings. So Fabiana as a high school E&L teacher and Nancy working in multiple offices at IU Bloomington. What are your thoughts?
Okay. I have a lot of ideas. But for example, a fair cultural always works. Like, for example, choose one date at schools and then set up tables with each country, and then parents and students can participate. They can decorations, the tables with a lot of things related with their countries, and also they can share foods, they can share music, they can, for example, if it's too big to prepare a fair culture, maybe the students can prepare something in the classroom. They can do the same thing but in a small format. Last school year, the end of the last school year, we prepared something very fantastic experience in the classroom. So I share my story with the students, and then I explain them how can I prepare the book, how can I illustrate each page, and then I in a final project for the fourth quarter, we make the book for each student stories. So each students prepare and share their stories. We have specific questions, like, for example, tell first about your country, your cultures. What would you like to share? Like short stories, the same as this book. And we created a book for the last quarter. So was really interesting because, for example, for seniors, they love to participate because was the how can I explain? It was like so they are leaving the school and they want to share how was the experience for the last 4 years high school and their cultures, and so it was amazing experience. So we can do a lot of things involving parents, maybe in the open house, um, maybe in graduations parties, parents conference. There is so many opportunities to make something different to involve immigrant parents.
I think, thank you, Fabiana. Like what Fabiana says, I think it'll be great to tell your story like at libraries, local libraries or bookstores where they have storytelling time. And that opportunity to be able to tell your story, and you just never know who's out in the audience and who's listening, and they even may be able to relate to what you've gone through or what the experiences and stuff that you've gone through. And I've had the opportunity to present at one of the professors' classes, Angie Wong's class. And I've done it twice, 2 years in a row. So it was very nerve-wracking, but I just told my story and my experiences. I got good feedback from the parents, I mean, from the students and stuff. So it was really nice to see that I just never knew the doors of opportunity would open like that for me. So, but I think it's just really important just to get it out there in the community, like Fabiana say, have a cultural day in the classroom or in the school where people can, like one of the things that I'm also part of is Lotus Blossoms. And that is a big community where we invite fourth graders and they learn about different cultures from different countries. And we have tables set up. And maybe even that time, there'll maybe it is kind of loud in there because there's music playing and drums playing, but perhaps maybe a time there that you can have a chance to tell your story there. So yeah, any type of community events I think is great, as Fabiana said.
I might just tag on to what Nancy just shared. Certainly, we've invited Fabiana to one of our classrooms on campus at IU Columbus, and she doesn't know this, but influenced one of my students who decided to pursue a dual license uh, uh, for English as a second language learners. So we were excited about that. And she said, it's because you came and presented, because she was intending to maybe go a slightly different direction, but you so much influenced her that it was a very positive outcome. And then I think there are a lot of ways in the elementary level to weave it in as a part of the curriculum. It doesn't even have to be a totally standalone day, but I think as you're studying social studies, the content of social studies and language arts, there would be many opportunities to weave that into the ongoing work in the classroom. And then in the community, um, we have been so privileged to support the sharing of these multilingual books, both at our literacy festivals, which the entire community has been invited to. We've been able to purchase copies of the anthology and place those in our schools so that all people can share them. We have also most recently, there's an ethnic expo in Columbus every year. And so we were able to invite some readers to come and share on City Hall, the steps of City Hall, their stories, and also do some of the activities. So I really think in a community, there are probably innumerable opportunities, and we probably have only scratched the surface, but at least that's a few things that we have done.
Yeah, just to chime in and build on the conversation. Let me get back to that slide. Sorry. Um, One thing I've really appreciated about the community engaged framework is it places the relationships, the people, the parents, like as the heart of the goal. So I would say this project, more than any I've been a part of, I shared at the Indiana TESOL, does feel a lot like a seed. It's like being a part of planting seeds and then seeing things kind of grow above and beyond whatever we planted. And it feels at that point, you realize you're part of something bigger, and it just feels like an honor and kind of awe-inspiring to see where people go and what people do with their different stories. I shared previously, one of our parent authors, Anna Karina Hurtado, was inspired to take her story and run for school board and almost got it. And in the meantime, I think really educated the community about multilingual learners and families on her platform. So that was pretty awesome. And I think one question I have, I know, like I have written a parent book. Um, I'm comfortable to say yes or no. Fabiana and Nancy, you seem pretty comfortable to, say yes or no. But I guess one question I always have is, what are your thoughts, or others' thoughts about, um, I am an introvert, so I'm always wary of over asking. Or should we not be worried about over asking? Should we keep inviting, keep asking parent authors? Because, do you think parent authors might reach a point where they're burned out, but still feel compelled to, share? I guess that's something I myself as a parent, researcher, teacher, I'm always thinking about. So what are your thoughts on that? Is it always better to extend the invitation and because there's so many community events, what are your thoughts?
We had a conversation, and I'm just going to jump in to
Thanks.
encourage the students who are part of Multilingual Minds to speak as well. Um, we were concerned about parents feeling that we were being extractive, like that we had um, other goals in mind beyond just helping them to create stories. But we've also been looking and working in non-school settings. So I think in a school setting, the ethos is a little different, but it still nevertheless could be there, right? Like how can the parents or and authors who participate benefit in ways that are tangible and important to them? It's not just the goals of the people who are like trying to organize the project.
And one piece I'll add to that, because and then I'll be quiet, is this initiating this work, I first it was sort of like I didn't anticipate this project. I first like was the parent and wrote a story just to
Hmm.
survive my own situation. And then from that later I looked back and was like, gosh, I'm in a situation now where other people are experiencing something I did. What can I do with this? And I think, and now to hear Fabiana, you talk about leading your students in story writing because you wrote a story. I think so often, one transformation that I'd love to see come from this community engaged research is transforming our institutions, our like the ethos that you were talking about, Beth, so that as teachers, when we're in a position of authority, we do the same assignment as our students, whatever that is, whether it's writing that book with the parents or writing that autobiographical reflection with my students. Why not, if I'm inviting a sharing that involves vulnerability, explore that first myself, and share that vulnerability as well. That's a
Hmm.
thought. I wonder what other people think.
Oh, I'm gonna speak up. Um,
Fadlia raised her hand
Laura,
right after.
sorry. You want to go ahead and go? Or you want me to
No,
go?
go ahead, Nicole. Go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah.
So you guys were talking about communities and things, and I think I heard this correctly that you feel like you guys are asking too much of your parent authors and things like that. So, with me being part of my community and being in PTO and things like this for the school system and everything else, we do certain kinds of things like dogs with dads and memories with moms and things like that. And we're always looking for activities to do with these parents when they come in, and not just different cultures and backgrounds and stuff, because we don't want that just to be the theme, because sometimes parents of different ethnicities think like, oh, well, they're only concerned about this certain, group of students. So what we did as PTO members, I kind of piggybacked off Laura's idea because in our science class, she had us make a book. And so I took a whole bunch of scrapbook paper and we took puzzle pieces and we made picture frames. And we had the students be able to take pictures with their friends or their family members or families that were outside. And we printed those off for the students to put in to bring to the school the next day to be able to show them what they built. But it wasn't a certain theme of how they had to do it, but it was funny because all the puzzle pieces that we had done were black, white, and brown. And we didn't realize that because we spray painted them and that was the only spray paint we had. So it was really neat to see that and see all the kids come together and see what colors they chose and see who they decided to have their pictures with in those events. So that was kind of neat. But we do a cultural fair too. But the way that I would, as a teacher, if I got a K through second position to keep your parent authors alive, is I would invite Nancy to my classroom. I would. I've already read her book to my kids as a substitute. I wasn't in my normal classroom where I'm student teaching, but as a substitute, I pulled up her book on my laptop. I presented her book. The kids loved it. They got to talk about certain things that they were able to share about their cultural, their backgrounds, just anything that they like to do inside their house. So it was really neat to do that. And then it's always funny to see the kids react like, you're not a teacher, you're in college. And I'm like, yeah, I'm still learning. So it's really interesting to see kids like see what you're learning because they're interested on what you're learning too. Because there's days in there I'm like, I have an assignment to do. You all are supposed to be doing your homework. Like, let's all work together. And then they're like, Miss Merriman, you're in college. And I'm like, yeah. And then I'll show them what I worked on at the end of the day. And they're so intrigued. And most of the things, it is my EML classes that I'm still doing homework for. So they're always asking questions like, oh, you're learning this. And after I met with Beijing, China, I have downloaded Duolingo. So now trying to learn a new language and things like that and trying to pick up on these things. So now the kids are really interactive with that. There are so many things that you can incorporate these books with, but as parent authors and having this as an insight for me as a teacher, I will always reach out to Laura. I will always reach out to Nancy, these people that you guys have connected me with, these webinars that I have done. I will always reach out for my students. And we my son has actually came in and read to kindergarten and first grade students. We do a thing where you can reach out to people to come in to read for 2 weeks because they do those reading things for the students. So you can have our cheerleaders, our basketball people, or our parent authors, or somebody from an ML group because we have ML student or ML teachers that come in and read, or our officers that work in our school system, they come in and read books. So that is something that you definitely would reach out to because when you tackle those kids at a young age, like kindergarten, first and second grade, they're always going to be interested. I have kids that I had in first grade 5 years ago when I was an instructional assistant that still reach out to me as eighth graders. So it is really like if you make that impact on them, they're always going to stay with you. And that's what you guys did for me. So,
Wow, thank you so much, Nikole. I love that encouragement to keep reaching out, to keep connecting. Fadlia?
Hi, thank you for the time for me. So I'm Leah. I'm also a multilingual parent of uh, second grade school students. So we are from Indonesia, and I'm also the PhD students, Dr. Sam students in LCLE at IU. So so I just want to respond with appreciation that what you are doing is really impact the multilingual student. For example, that my son, I really appreciate what Nikole said as a teacher that he integrate the activity into the classroom, and then the student have the opportunity to bring their culture or whatsoever that they want to bring. And then because that I've seen on my eyes that how proud that my son, whenever that he got chance to build something Indonesian or to bring story like Indonesian story, or for me, for example, have the opportunity to be mystery reader, and I bring the Komodo dragon to the class as the context of Indonesian. Those all things are um, uh, really worth it. Really the things that really memorable for my son. Really, because then I saw his challenging time, and he even can count that how many even or how many even that he's involved into the lesson, but being able to show his creativity and then bring his identity as a bilingual. And then I hope that more teachers implement it. I'm sure that uh, it has been um, it has been a training, it has been an issue in the teachers, but the terms of implementing in the classroom is also like another another issue. Maybe I believe maybe it is like the time constraint or whatsoever in the educational system. But I appreciate this station. It's just remind me and realizing me advocating for our son is possible. Like uh, uh, multilingual parent also has the role to advocate their multilingual students, and also that it's not only benefit us for our children, but also I think that it can be useful for larger uh, schools community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leah, and congratulations on being in the doctoral program and being a parent of a second grader. It sounds like that's incredible, all that you're balancing. That's inspiring.
Thank you.
So we're at the end of our time, but I did hear from some of the presenters that they would be willing to stay a little bit longer if we have more questions. But I just want to say if you need to leave, thank you so much for coming. And we have 3 events planned for next semester. We're going to hear from the Chin Languages Research Project, and we're going to have a presentation about the Books and Beyond project when it was active in Rwanda. And then the third presentation will be with Dr. Tom McConnell, who is involved with the Transformational Education Network in mostly, I think it's mostly in sub-Saharan Africa, but he's been writing about the importance of being a content creator in your own languages and also how to do it. So we have those 3 presentations set up, and if you want to keep in touch and be notified, you can subscribe to the email list that I put into the chat. I could go ahead and post it again to make it easy for you to find. But thank you so much, and do stay if you wanna continue this conversation. Thank you to Karen and Fabiana and Nikole and Nancy and Laura, and I don't think I missed anybody. So
Thank you
thank
so
you very
much for
much.
having us, Beth, and I
Yeah.
will be staying. So
Okay, yeah, I'll stay a little bit longer too. I know we met last week, the Multilingual Minds group. We read your paper. And so we do have some questions about how we go about doing this kind of work. So we're so interested in finding out what people are doing and also figuring out ways that we can support each other. So does someone want to dive in with a question?
Sure, I can. I have,
Great.
I mean, I have many questions because this work is so, so interesting and so important, and I'm so glad to be here. And thank you all for your presentations. I think one key element that stood out for me from this project and also from the paper that you wrote, Dr. Liu, was the element of authenticity. You know, like these stories need to be authentic and really relate about, you know, um, the parents' stories, their real stories, you know, like how they felt and what they experienced. And so I was just wondering how do we make sure that these stories are authentic, and how do we really define authentic? And especially as we want to work primarily with kids and have them write their own stories. We know that children can, you know, they have an amazing imagination. So how do we make sure that the stories remain authentic and real experiences? Or is that really important or not? I wanted to have all of your opinions. Yes.
So it's your question to the group, were brought to our group or to me about, or
Or was it something that you because that's something that stood out for me in the paper specifically, and then by hearing all of the stories, they are
Mhm.
very authentic.
Mhm.
So was that something that you asked all the parent authors
Mhm.
specifically, and then how did the parent authors navigate with that, or how did they make sure that their stories were authentic, if that makes sense?
So first I'll step back and didn't know if Nancy or Fabiana, you wanted to respond. Um, I guess I think one thought is when I started the project, I really started it first from that ground up as like a seed, um, as a parent, empathizing with the struggles of other parents, finding writing for me was when I was by myself. I mean, so I guess the first, I almost in many ways think it starts with being an authentic, doing all of our jobs authentically, whatever our job is, whether it's a teacher, a researcher, administration. So for me in this case, I guess it began within that point of struggle, sitting by myself as a parent in a small apartment, not knowing anything about the world around me. And my kids are at school, my son's at work, having no idea what's happening to my kids at school. And then I started to write. And my funds of knowledge that I didn't even identify as funds of knowledge at the time was nature. Nature was the one consistent element in my world at that difficult moment. And then I began a children's book about how can I help my kids keep what they left. They didn't know they left because we brought them here. They didn't choose to leave it, with what's new. And at the time, we didn't know how long we'd be there. We didn't know if it would be 10 years or 1 year or 3. It ended up being 3. And so it was really attempting to hold, just realizing there's something I left that I lost. I don't really totally know what that is. I don't want my kids to lose it because I don't know what to pass on to them or how permanent this is going to be. Um, and yet at the same time, so much energy is being soaking in all the new and needing to adapt and learn about the new. So it really was. So if I look at the word authentic, the word author is in it, whether it's writing or drawing or living our lives, we are sort of the authority over what it is we're going to keep, learn, blend, merge, and pass on. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be a scrapbook paper children's book. It could be poetry, it could be speeches, it could be podcasts. Like this kind of work, I think, can be done in so many creative modes. But I think that idea is practicing it ourselves. If I'm a teacher or if I'm a researcher, and I want to work with students or parents in generating something, try doing it myself first. Like asking myself, like, what is it I'm asking them to do? Why am I interested in that? What has happened in my own life that's led me to be interested in this? And then doing some of that creative work ourselves. If nothing else, just to understand the process better that we're inviting our students, our participants, our community members, our parents to step into, even if we don't publish it or whatever. So that's my first thought. I wonder how others, that's a great question. The idea of authenticity. What do others think?
I think I just went by like my life experiences and just I wanted, I didn't really share a lot of stuff with my children. And when I was growing up, my mom coming from Japan, at that time, she just wanted, I spoke Japanese fluently when I was young, but when my mom came to the States, my mom just wanted to be included with everybody else. So she had stopped speaking it to me, and she still kept her language up with her friends and stuff. But with me, she had stopped because she just didn't want me to feel different. And but now that I'm hearing people from families from, multilingual families that their parents are teaching, they speak their language in their home so so the children can embrace that and know that language. And I mean, when I hear that, it's like, wow, that's just amazing. But at the time when my mom was, here, I think she just wanted to be normal. She thought being able to speak English and just English to me, I guess that was just her she felt she was being included by society. And now that I hear that kids growing up now, they know their native language. And I mean, I just praise that and it's just amazing. And that's just really great that their parents instill that in them and not let that go. So I just think, just life experience, be real, things that you experience and stuff. I think, you don't want to sugarcoat anything and just, yeah, just, yeah, just to be yourself.
I think there's
Hands up.
huge space for nonfiction writing too. So when we talk about stories, we automatically think about fiction or authentic stories, like someone telling their actual story. But kids need nonfiction too, and you don't have to have big degrees, right, to write a nonfiction book about something that you know and love. So anyway, Nadi has a question, and then Comfort.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity and thank you so much for sharing all of this. And I feel like this is really important. And by the way, I'm Nadi, and I'm also literacy, culture, and language education PhD students second year, and I'm from Indonesia. And my specific topic that I'm interested is about the science of reading and also connection science of reading with the bilingual and multilingual community, translanguaging, and all the things that you share here resonate to all my experience as a student, as also as a parent right now here in the United States. So I just want to share things that's still in my mind so far after taking science of reading courses. Right now, I have been taking free courses about science of reading, 3 blocks, and I'm going to take the 4 blocks. And and I think the bilingual or the books like you just made before need to be included in the science of reading courses, all the blocks. We cannot just do, yes, I believe that it's really important to do something like a ceremonial thing that we make a festival, but the teacher's preparations need to start put the bilingual and multilingual context from the decoding process until the language comprehensions to domain of science of reading. So so I understand if the books with 2 languages or the books like Nancy share with the Japanese letters, you put Japanese grapheme. It's really good to bring with the students that already have the capability to read. My concern is, what about for the students who still learns to decode or still learns the phonics? In your experience, is there any way or is there any things that come in your mind about how to bring this bilingual or multilingual context in the decoding process or in the decoding course at the teachers preparations program at the university? That's still the questions in my mind. If you have any idea, please share.
That is a wonderful idea. And do I pronounce your name Nadi?
Yes.
Nadi, thank you so much for, and I welcome anybody else's thoughts on this. But one of the things that stands out to me first is the idea of pronouncing letters differently. So phonetics, so helping teachers, teacher candidates who can then help students to realize they are pronouncing that word correctly in Spanish or in their home language. They are actually pronouncing it correctly. They're
Yeah.
not incorrect. And so I think it feels overwhelming to think about how do we educate teachers, but maybe the goal isn't to necessarily educate teachers to know how to pronounce all phonetic sounds across languages, but simply to be very keenly aware that there are different ways to pronounce letters across different languages, and to not assume when they hear a student pronouncing a word that it's incorrect, that they're processing it wrong. And so I think filling our classrooms with new words we're learning in additional languages, just as an example, so that we can help all the students be aware of that, would be a great start. But I do think that that educational piece has to come at the top, from the top down. I don't think science of reading from the top down currently has, there's some discussion about this, but I wouldn't say it's the canon right now. Beth, I don't know if you have thoughts on that. But I think that is such a good conversation to bring together. I love your point, Nadi. We need multilingual books in the Science of Reading recommended book list, because it does help students read English, if nothing else, right? Let alone it helps English-speaking students learn additional languages. But Beth, I wonder or if others have thoughts on this.
I'll just say quickly that I think that developing multilingual language awareness is the important thing. So understanding that the sounds that are represented by the alphabet, right, can be different in different languages. And you mean you start at that phonological level, but you can work up through morphology, syntax, pragmatics, and it also includes cultural awareness. So we can't teach the students everything, but we can teach them the awareness to be alert to how things can be different. Um, yeah, so I'm basically in agreement with you, but Comfort, you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry for my network earlier, but I'm back and okay now. Dr. Liu, I want to say thank you. And for every parent here that participated in the project, I want to say big thank you, because this is an eye-opener for most of us in LCLE or people that are actually advocating for language. But this is my question. I'm just trying to look at it this way, Dr. Liu. Find most of the parents that have participated in writing their stories in the fonts of knowledge, they actually have the literacy level in the sense that they can read and they can write. What about those parents that only have the ability, the oral ability, but they don't have the knowledge of writing? Where do you actually put them in your project? That's my first question. And my second question is this. I'm trying to ask why, when you are trying to write the fonts of knowledge, the storybook, um, is it fine? It's a project, but when you are trying to print it, I want to ask, because we have, publishers are most of the people that actually design what we write sometimes. And they tell us, oh, this is the way it's meant to be. Is there any influence of any publisher in your writing? That's my second question. And my third question is this. The question is directed to Fabiana, sorry, did I pronounce your name well? Thank you. You shared your experience about coming from Brazil, where you experienced 4 seasons. And I believe the experience will be in the story that you actually write. I'm just trying to look at it. You are now in America and they don't experience this. How do you actually infuse that in your story in such a way that it will be like a blend for someone that is based in America and for someone who has not experienced it before? And for you, I've actually experienced it. How do you actually infuse that in your story so they know that this story is authentic? Fine, you guys don't experience it here, but this is the way it is in our own culture. Thank you.
So let's see. Wait, Okay, I'm focused on the last two questions, but I had a thought for the first. Can you remind me that first question was Comfort, could you
All
remind me
right.
the first question was, I had a thought at the top of my mind for that question. Do you remember what
Okay.
it was?
The parent that is ready to share their story,
Oh,
but
yes.
okay.
Thank you. So I think you raise a wonderful point and potentially something maybe you already have a doctoral dissertation topic, but I think that this is a wonderful point to explore is looking at funds of knowledge stories that are shared orally through music, through dance, through recipes, written or unwritten foods. I think there's so many ways to pass on funds of knowledge well beyond the written word. So I think that point you made is a good reminder to make that point in our teacher preparation courses. What are ways that don't involve story writing? What are other ways that stories, funds of knowledge can be shared? So certainly oral story sharing, podcasts, video. There's so much with media now that I think can be done too. Movement, right? So I think that is just a whole, I think that's a dissertation that could be done. That would be wonderful. And okay, now I'll let Fabiana jump in now so I don't talk too much. So the question is, keeping your story authentic for both the parent who has not yet moved from Brazil to the US or from one place to another. Fabiana, do you have thoughts on that?
Sorry, I don't understand exactly what is the question.
Comfort were you asking, is the
Okay.
story written in a way that for the parent who is in Brazil thinking about moving but hasn't moved yet, that story, they can connect with it and learn?
Okay.
Is that the question? Am I understanding that correctly?
All right. I'm just trying to, for someone who is here, you are writing the story here in America, not for people in Brazil. Those in Brazil, they understand the weather, the season that you guys have 4 seasons in Brazil. But for someone who is in America that have not experienced it before, but because you're sharing your story with them, how do you actually connect it in such a way that the story will still be authentic? Fine, they've not experienced it before, but they can actually put themselves in that shoes because you are sharing it based on your life experience. Thank you.
Um, Maybe I am totally lost yet. Sorry. Laura, can you help me?
Yeah. So I think, well, one thing I found is that when Fabiana shares her story to people in the US who haven't, it sounds like what you're saying, haven't had that feeling of living in Brazil where the weather's warm all the time, move to a place where there's seasons, maybe they've never moved at all. I think there are elements of Fabiana's story I always find when Fabiana shares that people can relate to. So we always have tears whenever Fabiana shared, whether it's our teacher ed class or the ethnic expo, there are always tears. And I think it's because many of our students are parents. Many, we have had, we had one parent, Anna Karina, shared her story about moving with second graders, and one of those second graders moved from like Spencer, Indiana to Columbus, Indiana. And they totally related to Anna Karina's story about moving from Cuba to the US, her husband's story. And so I think even without the specifics being the same, there is definitely elements to relate to. And when I don't know if you have a strategy, Fabiana, but Fabiana connects. Same with Nancy. I think there's a lot of connection that naturally happens when the authors share their stories. But going back to that idea of authenticity is Comfort. I love just this idea of helping parents to share in ways that really resonates with them. It could be dance. It could be dress. It could be song. It could be music. It doesn't have to be in some form that is not comfortable, right? It is what is comfortable to pass on. So in many ways, that both the message and the medium are part of the funds of knowledge.
Okay, so I think it doesn't matter, as Laura told, doesn't matter what kind of move you are doing. For example, can be for neighborhood, can be the city, can be country, can be whatever. Is always a challenge. It's always a challenge, and doesn't matter what age. Can be a challenge for kids, can be a challenge for teenagers, can be a challenge for adults. So it's really hard when we are in a comfort zone, and then we need to, to to move on to this Bible, no, not Bible, to like when you need to move and you need to share something in our life. It's really hard. For example, it's because that I told you, when I wrote this book, I give this book for all immigrants mom, that when they move, that they don't give up. My message is don't give up. Will be challenged, will be hard, will be each person has their own time to move. For example, for some people, in just 1 month, it will be easy to understand a new life. But some other people's may take more time, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, doesn't matter. Like, will be hard for everybody. Like, try to keep going. Don't give up. Will be hard, but you need to move on. That everything is gonna be all right in the future. I don't know if I answer your question. But I am here to available if you have more questions, if you want to invite me to talk about more about the book, about my story. I always share with whatever you want. Like I share maybe my stories for moms, but I share my story for elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, college. I also have a message to give them. Doesn't matter what is my audience.
And one question that I had is, Beth, if we can share that email listserv more broadly to like Bartholomew Reed's members or our other students. And then if I thought, Karen, I don't know if you have thoughts on this, but it would just be neat to connect, just to have shared conversations. Sounds like you have a lot of presenters on research coming. I think that would be really neat. And Bartholomew Reed's has a lot of implementation happening, and I feel like that could be a really good complement, because I think this work benefits from support and collaboration.
I totally agree, Laura. We certainly come with open arms if you're interested in connecting with our group as well. We are made up of multiple community partners, and obviously everyone interested in literacy and in promoting literacy for all residents in Bartholomew County. So we would certainly welcome that opportunity. And I only wanted to share one other little thing. When Nadi was talking about science of reading and so on, I teach a course called Trade Books. And it's not about decoding, but it's certainly about fine literature in children's books. And so even in SOR, they talk about read alouds and sharing books with classrooms. And I see that these stories could be a part of that. But we really encourage our prospective teacher candidates to develop libraries within their own classrooms. That for sure would include stories and books like have been shared today. So it may not be a part of the so-called recommended list, but we know the importance of having a variety of literature available to students in classrooms, and certainly we try to promote that.
I would just add, one of our big questions is how can we create a plurilingual, multilingual collaborative of people who are doing this kind of work. So we want to support you. We'd love to amplify your voice. And if you want to invite people to join our list, or invite us to join yours. And we just want to like create this collaborative we're centering first on Indiana because of the needs here, but we also have, even in this group, people who represent other parts of the world. And one of the things that inspired me first, and then students who came along with me, was noting that there are people all around the world who are doing this kind of work. And in many cases, they're doing it without funding or with very little funding. And they're doing it as volunteers or asking their students to do assignments in classes, because they see that this is a tremendous need. And so, I mean, we just don't think that mainstream publishing is going to take it up. Right? The need for multilingual stories, for bilingual stories. The African Storybook, which is based in Johannesburg, says that every child should have 100 titles in their own language. Right? And I think that means that every year they should have 100 new titles, because a 5-year-old has a different needs and different tastes than a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old, right? So and so this is there's just so much work to be done. So we're here to support each other, and also to talk about how we can expand and multiply what we do. And so I think this is a good place to end. I don't see any more hands up. So
Thank you so much, Beth and Melissa, for organizing this, and Fabiana, Nancy, Karen, and thank you for the students for the questions. I definitely hope to join for more of these groups meetings, and we'll invite others. And it's exciting to see you kind of be generating this in Indiana and connecting to these scholars around the world. And this is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Comfort and Melissa, and all the members of MMI and all the presenters. This has been really good, and I hope that you all have a wonderful holiday season, and get some rest, and enjoy some time with friends and family. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
thank
Stay
you.
warm.
Bye.